In a mansion where pride was louder than love, there lived a girl no one wanted. She wasn't a guest, not a daughter of honor, just a servant, forgotten and broken. Every laugh cut her deeper. Every hunger night whispered that she was nothing. But inside her hands, she carried a secret the world could not see, a single pendant, the last gift of a mother she never knew. They mocked it as worthless, yet hidden within was truth powerful enough to change everything. Every tear she shed was not weakness, but fire. Every wound she carried was not shame, but destiny. And the very walls that despised her would one day bow to her name, because the girl they called worthless was never a servant at all. She was the true heir. And when her time came, her silence would break like thunder, shaking an empire to its knees. This is her story, and it begins now. The rain beat mercilessly against the stone walls of Ravenhurst Manor, an English mansion that towered like a monument of pride. Its gates bore a golden crest, 2 letters entwined, A and R. The townsfolk called it the Marked House. Inside, candles glowed, laughter echoed, silverware clinked. A grand feast was underway. But outside, in the freezing storm, a little girl sat on the steps, trembling. Her name was Amara. She was only 10. Skin dark as night, eyes wide with hunger. But she was not a guest. She was not even family. She was the servant girl. Her thin dress clung to her soaked skin. Her hair dripped with cold rain. She hugged herself tightly, but no warmth came. From the tall windows above she could see them, the family eating cake and bread, while she was left to starve. "Out of my house!" Lady Rose's cruel voice still rang in her ears. Amara had been accused of stealing food she never touched. And for that, she was thrown into the storm like garbage. Her lips trembled as she whispered into the night, "Grandma, if you can hear me, why was I born into this?" And the storm swallowed her tears. In Ravenhurst, Amara's world was scrubbing floors and carrying trays. She slept beside the laundry, on a thin mat that smelled of soap and dust. The children mocked her daily. "Look at her hands," Clara sneered, pointing at Amara's cracked palms. Thomas laughed. "She's got servant hands." "Not like us. She doesn't belong here." Even the servants joined in. Some whispered, "She's cursed." Others said, "She's no different than a shadow." But the cruelest voice of all was Lady Rose. "You are nothing, Amara," she spat one morning as Amara bowed her head. "A mistake that should never have been brought here. Don't you dare dream beyond this floor." Amara swallowed her pain, burying it deep. She had learned silence was her only shield. But silence is heavy, and every day the weight pressed harder on her chest. That night, unable to sleep, Amara clutched the only memory of comfort she had, her grandmother's words. "When the time comes, child, you will see the truth. You are not what they say. You are more." Amara closed her eyes and remembered her grandmother's smile, soft and wrinkled, the only love she had ever known. But her grandmother was gone now, leaving only questions behind. And then fate answered. While mending her only dress, Amara's fingers touched something hard sewn into the lining. She pulled carefully, and there it was, an old bronze pendant, weathered but still gleaming. Her breath caught. The pendant bore the same crest carved into the mansion gates. A and R. Amara stared, heart pounding. Why would her grandmother hide this? That night, she dreamed of a woman weeping, clutching a baby in the rain, a man walking away, a scream lost in thunder. When Amara awoke, the pendant burned warm against her chest. Amara began to write her feelings in scraps of paper she stole from the kitchen. Stories, memories, and dreams she dared not speak aloud. One evening she sat in the corner of the laundry, scribbling. The old driver, Mr. Harris, caught her. He bent down and whispered gently, "You write beautifully, child. Your grandmother would be proud." For the first time in years, Amara smiled faintly. Someone had seen her, but her moment of light was shattered. Lady Rowe discovered the writings days later. She read them aloud before the family, her voice dripping with mockery. "She thinks she's special. Listen to this filth." Clara laughed. Thomas jeered. And then with one cruel flick, Lady Rowe tossed the pages into the fire. Amara watched, helplessly, as her dreams turned to ash. "You will never be more than a servant," Lady Rowe hissed. But deep in Amara's chest, the pendant pulsed. While dusting Lord Adrian's study, Amara stumbled upon a photograph half hidden in a drawer. A woman smiling, standing beside Lord Adrian, the master of the house. Amara froze. The woman looked just like the figure in her dreams. Could this be her mother? Before she could study it, Clara snatched the photo away. "Thieves touch what isn't theirs," Clara sneered, striking Amara's cheek. "Stay away from my father's things, servant." But Amara's heart whispered otherwise. Days later, as Lady Rowe argued with a maid, a letter slipped from her purse. Amara picked it up and read in secret. "I am searching for my daughter Amara. Her birthday is September 14th, 2014. She deserves the truth." L. Her knees buckled. That was her birthday. That was her name. The house was not her prison. It was her inheritance. Fear gripped her. If Lady Rowe knew Amara had found the truth, she would silence her forever, and so Amara hid the pendant under her dress, close to her heart. But her eyes changed. She no longer bowed in total defeat, Lady Rowe noticed. "You dare look at me like that?" she hissed one evening. "I should have sent you away years ago." Amara said nothing, but her silence was no longer submission. It was strength. Amara gathered courage. One night she crept into Lord Adrian's study. Hands trembling, she left the pendant beside the family crest on his desk, with a note. "There is a girl in your house who may be more than you think. Her name is Amara. Test her blood. The truth will speak." Lord Adrian found it. Quietly, secretly, he arranged a DNA test. Days later, the maid offered Amara a sweet on a napkin. "For health test?" she said casually. Amara licked it without suspicion. The sample was taken. The truth was sealed in an envelope. Lord Adrian sat in his car, hands shaking as he tore open the letter. His eyes blurred as he read, "DNA. Result. 99.9% match. Amara Rowe. Biological daughter." His heart shattered and healed at once. All the years of absence, all the lies, all the cruelty, and his child had been suffering under his roof. Tears rolled down his face. For the first time in decades, the Lord of Ravenhurst wept. That evening, in front of the household, Lord Adrian entered the servants' quarters. Gasps echoed as he walked straight to Amara. He did the unthinkable. He fell to his knees before her. "Forgive me," his voice cracked. "Forgive me, my daughter, my blood, my Amara." The pendant glowed against her chest. Amara's own tears fell freely. For the first time, she felt seen. Lady Rowe shrieked, "Lies! Tricks! She's nothing but—" "Enough!" Lord Adrian thundered. "You burned her dreams. You broke her spirit." And still she rose. "From this day forth she is no servant. She is my heir." The children cowered. The servants stared in awe. The girl they mocked was now the daughter of the house. Weeks later, Ravenhurst Manor changed. The ballroom became a place of learning for poor children. Books lined the walls. Laughter filled the halls, once silent with cruelty. At the heart of it all sat Amara, no longer in rags, but in dignity. A notebook in her hand, her words flowing. Like rivers, she looked at the children gathered around her. Their eyes were wide, waiting. "My name is Amara Rowe," she said softly. "I was once the servant girl no one wanted, but I found my truth, and so will you." The house that once marked her as nothing now bore her name with pride, and for those who heard her story, tears fell, because they knew they had witnessed not just survival, but rebirth. Ravenhurst was no longer quiet. The servants whispered. The villagers gossiped. Some said, "The lost child has returned." Others scoffed, "How can a servant girl be a Rowe?" Within the mansion walls, tension grew. Clara and Thomas glared at Amara whenever she passed. Lady Rowe plotted in silence, her pride wounded like a poisoned snake, but Lord Adrian stood firm. She is my daughter, and none shall deny it. Though she now had her father's name, Amara's heart was heavy. The years of cruelty could not vanish overnight. One morning Clara spat, "You may have his blood, but you'll never be one of us." Amara flinched, her hand tightening on the pendant. She wanted to shout, to fight, but instead she whispered, "I don't need to be one of you. I already am myself." Late at night Amara dreamed again. She saw her mother's face, soft with tears. "Daughter," the vision whispered, "I left you in safe hands. I never wished for your pain, but now you have been found." Amara woke with wet cheeks. She placed her hand on the pendant and whispered, "I forgive you, Mama. I understand." Lady Rowe's fury grew unbearable. In the quiet of her chambers she wrote desperate letters. "This girl must not remain. She is a stain on our name." Her jealousy burned, but her husband ignored her protests. The more Adrian embraced Amara, the more Lady Rowe's bitterness consumed her. News spread far beyond the village. Headlines screamed, "Billionaires! Hidden daughter found." Cameras swarmed the gates. Reporters shouted, "Amara, how does it feel to be recognized?" But Amara only lowered her head and whispered, "I was always me, with or without a name." The world was fascinated, but her humility touched even the coldest hearts. At last Lord Adrian declared, "Tonight my daughter dines at the head table." The long dining hall glittered with chandeliers. Amara sat where she had once been forbidden, her hands trembling over silver cutlery she had polished for years. The food was rich, but the taste of justice was sweeter. That night Clara wept in secret. She had mocked, bullied, and humiliated Amara. Yet now her own father barely looked at her. Amara found her in the corridor. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Amara whispered, "I forgive you, Clara. Not for you, for me." And she walked, away lighter than ever before. The ballroom was transformed into a school. Children from poor villages filled the once silent hall. They carried books instead of trays, laughter instead of tears. Amara taught them to write, to dream, to believe. She placed notebooks in their hands and said, "Your words matter. Don't let anyone burn them." One evening, Lord Adrian found Amara writing by the fire. He sat beside her, his eyes wet. "I missed every year of your life," he whispered. "Every laugh, every tear. I can never give them back." Amara placed her small hand on his. "Then don't give me the past, Father. Give me the future." And the Lord of Ravenhurst wept in his daughter's arms. Ravenhurst was no longer just the marked house. Its crest no longer symbolized pride and wealth alone. It symbolized survival, forgiveness, rebirth. Amara stood at the gates where she had once shivered in the rain. Now children ran freely inside, their laughter echoing through the halls. She lifted her face to the sky and whispered, "Grandma, I made it. I am not nothing. I am everything you said I could be." And with that, the story of the servant girl ended, not in silence but in song. Even as Amara's life changed, whispers haunted her. "She's not really a Rowe," some villagers muttered. "She'll never fit in," others said. Amara heard them, but instead of breaking, she stood taller. "I am not here to fit in," she thought. "I am here to shine." One stormy night, Clara came to Amara's door, tears on her cheeks. "I hated you because I was jealous. You stole Father's love. But maybe he loved you first." Amara's heart softened. For the first time, the sisters embraced, not as rivals, but as family trying to heal. Mr. Harris, the driver, gave Amara an old chest he had kept hidden. Inside was her mother's journal. Its pages spoke of love, sacrifice, and the night she was forced to give Amara away. "I never abandoned you," one entry read. "I prayed every night that destiny would return you home." Amara wept until dawn, clutching the words against her chest. Lady Rose's bitterness grew unbearable. She schemed to reclaim control, but truth could not be hidden. One morning, Lord Adrian handed her divorce papers. "This house cannot carry cruelty any longer. Leave, Roe. Your reign is over." And just like that, the woman who ruled with iron vanished from Ravenhurst, never to return. At a village gathering, Amara was asked to speak. Her hands shook as she faced the crowd. "I was once a servant in this house," she said. "I was mocked, beaten, forgotten, but the truth found me. And now I stand here to tell every child, you are more than what the world calls you." The hall erupted in applause. Amara's old corner by the laundry was left untouched. She often returned there, sitting on the floor where she once wept. But now, instead of tears, she brought children there. "This is where I began," she told them. "Remember, your starting point does not decide your ending." One day, the pendant cracked open. Inside was a folded piece of paper. It was her mother's handwriting. "If ever you doubt, remember, you were born of love, not mistake. Amara." Pressed the note to her lips, her heart soaring with peace. Lord Adrian grew ill with age. Before his last winter, he called Amara to his study. "Child," he whispered, "one day this house will be yours, but do not guard it with walls. Guard it with kindness." Amara nodded, tears streaming. She vowed to honor his words. When Lord Adrian passed, thousands gathered at Ravenhurst, but the loudest tears came from Amara, who laid the pendant on his chest before burial. "You gave me back my name," she whispered. "I will carry your legacy." Years later, Ravenhurst was no longer a mansion of pride. It was a sanctuary of learning, love, and hope. Travelers came from far and wide to see the place where a servant girl became a daughter, where cruelty turned to compassion. Children would sit at Amara's feet and ask, "Is it true, Lady Amara? Were you once nothing?" She would smile, her voice soft as rain. "I was never nothing. I was just waiting to be found." And so the marked house became a symbol, not of wealth, but of rebirth. At every feast in Ravenhurst, Amara kept one chair empty at the table. When asked why, she smiled. "It is for the forgotten, the unseen, the ones who think they don't belong. One day they will sit here." Clara, once cruel, changed with time. She dedicated her life to serving the poor, building schools alongside Amara. When people asked why, Clara whispered, "Because once I broke my sister's heart. Now I want to help heal others." Amara kept a journal of her life. From the days of hunger to the night of her discovery, she called it the Book of Tears. Generations later, children would read it in classrooms, learning that even pain can be a seed of greatness. Years later, Lady Roe returned, frail and alone. The guards asked, "Shall we turn her away?" Amara shook her head. "No, she once shut me out, but I will not do the same. Let her in." For the first time, Lady Roe wept in Amara's arms, whispering, "I was wrong." On the anniversary of her grandmother's death, Amara lit lanterns across the gardens. Villagers gathered, holding candles high. "This light," Amara declared, "is for every child in darkness. May you find your way home, as I did." In the grand dining hall, where portraits of nobles once hung, Amara placed a new painting, not of herself, but of her grandmother. Beneath it were carved the words, "She believed in me when no one else did." Amara founded an academy named the School of the Forgotten. It welcomed orphans, beggars, and abandoned children. To each she gave the same words, "You are not unwanted. You are unrecognized treasure." One evening, as rain poured just like the night of her childhood, Amara stood at the gates again. But this time, children gathered around her, laughing and dancing in the storm. She whispered, "Once I shivered in this rain. Now it washes me free." As age touched her hair with silver, Amara gathered the children. "My last lesson is this," she said. "Forgive more than you are forgiven. Love more than you are loved. And never forget, every stone thrown at you can build your throne." When Amara's time came, The entire nation mourned. At Ravenhurst, a flame was lit that would never die, a torch burning in the courtyard symbolizing her life. And so, the girl who was once mocked as nothing became remembered as everything. The legend of Amara lived forever, carried in whispers, books, and hearts. The servant who became the soul of Ravenhurst. And so the servant girl who was once mocked as nothing rose to become everything her enemies feared and everything her grandmother dreamed. Her story is not just about pain. It is about hope, forgiveness, and the thunder of truth that no cruelty can silence. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you wish to hear more powerful stories like this one, visit my channel, Facts, Psychology, and Motivational, where every tale reminds us that no one is truly forgotten. Thank you for watching, and remember, your story too is still being written.